I stood there frozen in my driveway coffee mug halfway to my mouth, staring at the empty slab where my Ford F-350 Super Duty was supposed to be the same truck I'd fired up every morning at 6:30 for as long as I could remember, and now it was just gone. The neighborhood was dead quiet except for the sound of sprinklers ticking somewhere off in the distance, but across the street there was Brenda Whitfield, arms folded tight across her chest, standing on her perfect patch of green like a scarecrow dressed for a HOA parade. She wore that HOA president sash like it actually meant something, like she'd won it in a pageant, not just bullied everyone into silence, and she was giving me this smile, thin-lipped, smug, the kind that makes you want to check your pockets after you walk away. Name's Marcus Chin, by the way. I've been a general contractor longer than smartphones have been around. About 6 months ago, I thought I was making a smart move. Buying a house in Willowbrook Estates, good schools, decent commute, nice enough neighbors. Or so I thought. What the realtor left out was that the HOA here is basically Brenda, and Brenda runs the show like a small-town dictator who's convinced everyone else is out to get her property values. Right from the start, Brenda had it out for my truck. She said the diesel engine was some kind of public nuisance, violating a noise ordinance that, frankly, I think she wrote herself on the back of a napkin. I even brought out my own decibel meter one day, real official, right, just to prove it was quieter than her lawn crew's leaf blower, but she didn't care. Every morning, she'd be out on her porch, clipboard in hand, watching me like a hawk, writing notes so fast you'd think I was launching a space shuttle, not just going to work. I kid you not, she even had a stopwatch to time how long my truck was warming up. The first citation landed 2 weeks after I moved in, something about excessive vehicle emissions in a residential zone. Never mind that I'd just gotten the truck through California's strictest smog check, which is basically like passing Navy SEAL training for cars. I replied politely, sent in all my paperwork, figured that would be the end of it. Yeah, that happened. Instead, the tickets kept coming. Commercial vehicle in a residential driveway. Noise disturbance, never mind. It was always after 6:30 a.m., right when the rules allowed. Aesthetic violation, apparently my truck was too large and unsightly for Willowbrook's visual standards. I laughed at that one. Every time I'd gather my facts, respond as calmly as possible, and show up to the HOA meetings where Brenda would launch into these 20-minute rants about my diesel problem while everyone else in the room tried not to fall asleep. Frank, one of my neighbors, actually stood up once and said his grandson's dirt bike was louder than my truck. Brenda put him down as disruptive in the meeting minutes. Then on this one Thursday morning, everything changed. I'd worked late the night before remodeling a kitchen way across town, so I overslept a little, just 15 minutes. Not the end of the world, or so I thought. When I finally stumbled outside, the driveway was empty except for a yellow slip of paper flapping under my windshield wiper. Well, where the wiper would be if the truck was still there. That slip was from Ace Towing. They'd taken my truck, said it was for repeated HOA violations, and if I wanted it back, I could cough up $850. I was shaking, not out of fear, but out of a kind of cold, steady rage that made my hands tingle. Brenda, I swear, was watching the whole time from behind her curtains. My work truck wasn't just a vehicle, it was my livelihood. That was how I paid my bills, kept a roof over my head. I called Ace Towing right away, but the guy on the phone couldn't have cared less. Once I mentioned Willowbrook Estates, his tone changed, got tight, almost nervous. We just go where the HOA tells us, he said, like that made it all okay. He muttered something about checking with his manager and then hung up. So next I called the police. The officer was nice enough, but he said this was a civil matter because the HOA claimed authority. He suggested I go read my HOA docs and maybe call a lawyer. As he was leaving, he kind of lowered his voice and said, "We've been getting a lot of calls about Willowbrook lately." Yeah, I bet. Instead of working, I spent the whole day buried in paperwork, lost out on a $200 job because I was hunting for fine print. Those HOA bylaws, 73 pages of legal mumbo-jumbo, but you know what I found? Nothing, absolutely nothing about diesel trucks. There were rules about boats, RVs, trailers, even garden gnomes, but nothing about the kind of fuel my truck used. But when I dug deeper, the towing policy was crystal clear: 3-day warning posted on your vehicle, signed approval from 2 board members, photographic evidence. Brenda hadn't done any of it. She just called up her buddy and had my truck swiped. I took photos, screenshots, everything, and made an appointment with Jennifer Rodriguez, an attorney who'd made a career out of battling HOAs. She actually whistled when I laid it all out for her. "This is egregious, even for an HOA," she said, flipping through the stack of documents. "We're not just getting your truck back, we're going after damages." Jennifer drafted a demand letter that could have won a Pulitzer. Every violation, every law, every bylaw Brenda ignored spelled out plain as day. She didn't just want my truck back, she wanted compensation for lost wages, illegal towing fees, punitive damages. The cherry on top was her discovery request, every bit of communication between Brenda and Ace towing board meeting minutes, anything about diesel vehicles. 2 days later, the HOA's lawyer sent back some blustery letter about community safety and ongoing violations, threatened me with extra fines for frivolous complaints. Jennifer just laughed. They just admitted in writing that they targeted you, she said. This is gold. And then twist number 1. Jennifer suggested I file a formal complaint with the state's Department of Real Estate, which, as it turns out, keeps a little black book on HOA presidents. Brenda's name was all over it, 3 complaints for harassment, 2 for misuse of funds, 1 for discriminating against certain residents. Nobody could figure out how she'd stayed on the board so long. So I started actually talking to my neighbors, not just a wave or nod, but real conversations. Suddenly, everyone had a Brenda story. The Johnsons got fined because their kid drew on the driveway with chalk. The Patels got slapped with a $600 fine for hanging prayer flags. Brenda even tried to ticket a disabled vet for having a wheelchair ramp that was, I kid you not, the wrong shade of beige. Everyone was fed up, but nobody had fought back until now. That's when Channel 7 News called. Somebody tipped them off, and next thing you know, there's a camera crew on my front lawn. Lisa Kim, the reporter, was sharp. Really wanted to know about the pattern of harassment and the cozy little relationship between Brenda and Ace Towing. Turns out the towing company is owned by Brenda's brother-in-law. Small world, huh? The story aired Tuesday night there. I was standing in front of my empty driveway talking about illegal towing and selective enforcement. Jennifer broke down the legal side. A bunch of neighbors even spoke on camera. When they tried to interview Brenda, she came out in her sash, saw the cameras, and literally ran back inside, slamming the door so hard her wreath fell off. The neighborhood group chat lit up like a Christmas tree. The next morning, bright and early, my phone rings. It's the HOA's lawyer, suddenly very eager to resolve this misunderstanding. My truck was already released, no charge. Apparently even Ace Towing realized they were flirting with grand theft auto charges. But I wasn't finished. Mediation was set for Monday at a law office downtown. I put on my best suit, the one I save for big commercial bids. Jennifer was ready with a presentation that would make you jealous. Brenda showed up looking like she'd just come from a costume party, yes, still wearing the sash, which the mediator, a retired judge, politely asked her to remove. Jennifer dismantled every argument. Noise, I had decibel readings showing my truck was quieter than the landscaper's blowers. Emissions certified state approved. Commercial vehicle state law protects contractor trucks. And then Jennifer dropped the bomb, Brenda's family connection to Ace Towing. The HOA lawyer looked like he wanted to crawl under the table. The mediator finally spoke up, very careful, lawyerly language. This is a clear case of selective enforcement and conflict of interest. He started running numbers, lost wages, towing fees, attorney costs, emotional distress, punitive damages. The HOA tried to bargain, but Jennifer held firm. We settled at $10,000 plus a not-so-subtle push for Brenda to step down as president. The board had to meet that night for an emergency session. I wasn't allowed in, but Frank was. He called me afterward, gave me the blow-by-blow. Brenda tried to rally support, but the board had seen the news, read the legal letters, and they were scared of being sued personally. Vote went 4-1. Brenda was out, only voting for herself. She stormed out, knocking over a chair for good measure. My truck was back in my driveway by the end of the week, just a few extra scratches from the tow. The $10,000 check showed up right after. I used part of it for a quieter exhaust, not because I had to, but just to prove a point. Petty, maybe. Satisfying. Oh, absolutely. 2 weeks later, Brenda put her house up for sale. Moving truck rolled out a month after that. I was out waxing my truck when she drove by in her Prius packed to the roof. She slowed down like she wanted to say something, but just kept on going. Here's the kicker, the folks who bought Brenda's house. The husband runs a mobile diesel repair business. First day he pulls up in a Ram 2500, laughs so hard at my story he nearly falls off his porch chair. So that's why we got such a deal, he said. Sometimes karma drives a diesel. So what do you think? Was justice really served, or do you think HOAs have a place? Policing what kind of vehicles we drive. Drop your thoughts below. Whose side are you on? And where's the line between community standards and personal freedom? Let's hear it.